Specializing or choosing a niche is a very common thing that comes up when discussing marketing. It's always something that people will bring up as a way to differentiate yourself or leverage your past experience. So let's continue to talk about this and what it is you can do to actually help in your marketing by helping those that you're talking to understand what you do best. And one of the things that you can do when considering whether or not to specialize or focus on a particular niche in your marketing or services is to reflect back on your own past experience, your employment history, for example. What businesses or industries have you experienced in that you could actually communicate best? You have a vocabulary, a familiarity with it that allows you to be more competitive than perhaps myself speaking to these people because you've done that work, you've experienced that industry. And that gives you a leg up because then it's people relating to you comfortably because you know where they're coming from. The second thing that you want to look at is your past business connections, your associations. It's not possible that you perhaps worked in the industry, but you collaborated with or worked with in the past, and so you're familiar with it from an outside perspective, and that's definitely a lot more than maybe some would have in just a generic sense. And so if you're able to leverage that to your benefit, that would be helpful. The other thing is interests. A lot of times, just because of your own personal passions or interests, whether it be, let's say, mountain biking or camping or say through some different community efforts, you're involved with something that you can get excited and passionate about, you can actually then use that as a place to specialize or niche your services. But the one thing that I do want to emphasize here is basically using this, as Alan explained, in your name. If you do choose to go so far as to specialize in a particular industry or service, yes, leverage that by saying to the world, this is where I am, this is what I'm committing to do, and this is where I focus, and this is where I'm going to excel. And if you can actually make that commitment, it does help you in your marketing because, as he pointed out, it can be so much as just in your business name that it clearly states what it is you do. So let me just share with you a few examples. One of the individuals that I worked with recently happened to be a long-haul trucker who had periods of downtime throughout his week just because of the nature of his work, and because of past experience chose to move into accounting to do during the off time when he wasn't actually on the road. And so he chose to not only just kind of revamp or get his skills in place and then certify himself as a professional bookkeeper, but then chose that with all of his contacts, the people he met on the road, the people he was experienced with, that he would offer them his accounting services on his off time. And so he grew his accounting business basically focusing on long-haul truckers whom he met on the road. And so this was just something that naturally he could do and discuss, and everybody understood what he was doing simply because they also, like him, had this same type of a downtime. The other individual that I'd bring up happens to be a woman who in her family had a lot of contractors. Her son happened to be a framer, her other son happened to be a carpenter, her another son happened to be a mason. So she chose, because of this familiarity and the connections they brought, that she would just focus exclusively on contractors. So she was working with general contractors, masons, carpenters, framers, and that's how she grew her business, as just focusing on or prioritizing those services within the construction world. So just reflect back on what is your background and experience that you have that you could basically use to leverage in your marketing to differentiate yourself as to having those premier services, and just basically run with it. It's one of those things where all of a sudden it just starts to snowball, and that's what we're looking for. So understand this: niching or specializing your services is a very common thing and easily done when you reflect back on your personal experience, your business connections, as well as your interests. Keep that in mind, and remember this: accounting success is universal. Take care.